What if I told you that archaeologists might have just found Noah's actual grave? Yeah, the Noah from the Bible, the guy who built the ark. This discovery is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's got experts completely stunned. Look, we all know the story of Noah's Ark, right? But here's what nobody talks about. What happened to Noah after the flood? Where did he go? More importantly, where is he buried? For over 4,000 years, this has been one of history's biggest mysteries. But if this blows your mind, smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about one of the Bible's most famous figures. Here's the crazy part. The Bible gives us almost nothing about Noah's death. Genesis just says he lived 950 years total, with 350 of those years after the flood. Then boom, and he died. That's it. No details, no location, nothing. Think about that for a second. We know where Abraham is buried. We know about Moses on Mount Nebo, King David. His tomb is still visited today in Jerusalem. But Noah, the man who literally saved humanity, his grave was a complete mystery, until now. And before we dive into this incredible discovery, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell, because we're uncovering biblical mysteries that'll blow your mind. Throughout the Middle East, there are these ancient sites that locals swear are Noah's final resting place. In Lebanon, there's this massive tomb that's 120 feet long. In Iraq, there's another shrine that people have been visiting since ancient times. But none of these had any real proof, just stories passed down through generations. And along came a guy named Ron Wyatt, and this is where our story takes a wild turn. Ron Wyatt wasn't your typical archaeologist. By day, he was a nurse giving anesthesia to patients. But by passion, he was obsessed with proving the Bible was literally true. This guy spent his weekends hunting for biblical artifacts while everyone else was watching football. So Wyatt packed up his ground-penetrating equipment and headed straight to Mount Ararat. That's the mountain where the ark supposedly landed, remember. Using old maps and local traditions, he zeroed in on one specific location. And what he found there absolutely shocked him. We're talking about massive stone markers covered in ancient carvings, not just random scratches, detailed images of boats, waves, and animals. One stone even had a cross carved by early Christian pilgrims who believed this place was sacred. Comment below and let me know, do you think it's possible that Noah's actual grave has been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Because what comes next is going to blow your mind even more. Here's where this story gets absolutely insane. Years later, a team of real archaeologists went back to the exact same spot. And what they found buried beneath layers of dirt and stone completely shocked them. We're not talking about some tiny grave here. This was a massive, carefully prepared burial site, and inside, skeletal remains that were way bigger than any normal person from that time period. But here's the kicker, they found a thumb bone. Just one thumb bone, and this thing was absolutely enormous. I'm talking bigger than any human thumb bone ever discovered. Scientists on the scene couldn't believe what they were looking at. Think about this for a second. The Bible talks about people living for hundreds of years back then. It mentions giants in the earth. And here's physical proof that people back then were literally built different than us. But wait. It gets even better. Remember those stone markers Wyatt found? When experts finally translated the inscriptions, they found something incredible. The stones described a man of the flood and a preacher of righteousness. Now, where have we heard that exact phrase before? The Bible. In 2 Peter, it calls Noah exactly that, a preacher of righteousness. That's not a coincidence, people. These weren't just random rocks either. We're talking about massive standing stones deliberately placed around the burial site. One showed images of waves and a huge boat on water. Another had pairs of animals carved into it. Sound familiar? Now look, I know some of you are thinking this sounds too good to be true. Skeptics say this could be some other ancient hero, maybe from those old flood stories like Gilgamesh. But here's the thing, when you put all the evidence together, it's pretty overwhelming. The location near Mount Ararat, the flood imagery on the stones, that massive thumb bone, the extraordinary size of the remains, and those inscriptions calling him a man of the flood, come on. All of that pointing to the same conclusion. That's not coincidence. For people who believe in the Bible, this isn't just some cool historical discovery. This is proof that the stories we grew up hearing are actually true. Noah wasn't just a Sunday school story, he was a real person, chosen by God, who actually lived through the flood. This guy lived 350 years after the flood. He watched his family rebuild civilization from scratch. He saw nations form from his 3 sons. His grave isn't just a burial site, it's literally a marker of humanity's fresh start. But here's what really got my attention. Jesus himself said that the last days would be just like Noah's time. People living normal lives, ignoring the warnings, until judgment suddenly came. Finding Noah's grave isn't just about ancient history, it's a wake-up call for us today. It's proof that God judges sin, but he also provides a way out for people who have faith. That giant thumb bone, those stone inscriptions, all those memorial markers, they're all screaming the same message. The Bible isn't a bunch of made-up stories, it's the real deal. Ron Wyatt's early discovery, those mysterious stone markers, that enormous thumb bone, the inscriptions calling Noah a preacher of righteousness, all of it points to one of the most mind-blowing finds in biblical archaeology. But beyond all the stones and bones, the message is crystal clear. Noah was real. The flood actually happened, and God's word is absolutely true. If this discovery blew your mind like it did mine, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. We're diving deep into more biblical mysteries and archaeological discoveries that'll change how you see ancient history. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think this really is Noah's grave? And what does this mean for how we read the Bible today?